It's 2 November 1940, 4 late morning over central Germany. Far above the Brandis airfield, the distant rumble of American 17s rolls like thunder across the sky. On the ground, Lieutenant Günther Andreas has no way back. His Me-160 Komet carries only a few minutes of volatile rocket fuel. There is no loiter, no second climb, no go-round. Once the tanks run dry, it's a glider, and in this sky full of fortresses and Mustangs, a glider is just a target. He shoves the throttle forward. The little rocket fighter surges down the Brandis runway, the acceleration brutal, immediate, like a giant hand shoving him between the shoulder blades. The narrow wheels drum over the concrete, and the airspeed indicator snaps past 200, 250, 300 miles per hour. The B-17s drone overhead somewhere out there, invisible through the low haze, heading for the fuel plants that feed the German war machine. If they get through, the plants burn. If the plants burn, Germany's fuel dries up. He eases back on the stick, light at first, then harder. The Komet leaps into the air. The vertical climb comes almost at once. He keeps pulling, the horizon dropping away until it's nothing but a sliver beneath his boots. The airspeed indicator slams past 400 miles per hour as the rocket motor hurls him skywards. He is not alone. 15 other Me-160-3s tear off the runway behind him, one after another, white trails clawing up through the murk. 16 Komets in the airthighs is the largest mission these strange little interceptors have ever flown. They are all here for the same reason: defend the fuel plants, stop the bombers. The climb is almost a wall. The force presses Andreas deep into the thin armor seat, his straps cutting into his shoulders. His vision narrows, the frame of the canopy trembling, the small wings biting into the thin air as the altimeter winds up in great spinning sweeps. In seconds, they punch through the top of the cloud. Blue sky explodes around him. Sunshine floods the cockpit, brilliant and hard after the gloom below. Andreas pulls the throttle back, easing the rocket motor to idle. Every second of burn now is a second he won't have later. The Komet's engine is as much an enemy as a friend, monstrously powerful, but greedily burning through the last precious reserves of fuel. He levels out and looks ahead. What he sees steals his breath. On the horizon stretches a dark, moving wall. A single immense stream of aircraft, seemingly endless, crawling across the blue. 2,000 Allied aircraft. 900 bombers, around 1,100 escorts. 17 flying fortresses and their 51 Mustang Guardians, all locked together in tight formations, stepping across the sky with cold, mechanical precision, heading directly for the fuel plants. Each Komet pilot sees it at once, 16 specks against the glare, suddenly alone before a sky full of enemies. The Komets scatter, Andreas banks, rolling smoothly into position. Another tiny dart of a plane flashes along his Winterpoberfeldwebel Jakob Bollenrath, his friend, his comrade. They rock their wings, a brief silent acknowledgement in the roar. Then they aim for the formation and begin to fall. This is what the Me-160-3 is built for: insane closing speeds, one slashing pass, a handful of seconds in the firing window. No turning fight, no dogfight weaving, just one attack and then gone. The nose drops, the blue sky tilts, and the mass of bombers swells in his windscreen, growing with frightening speed. From this angle, the formation looks frozen, motionless, a city in the air hung between Earth and space. Only the furious climb of his airspeed indicator tells the truth. Inside one of the B-17s ahead, in the cramped, rotating steel ball beneath the fuselage, a ball turret gunner scans the empty sky. The whole formation vibrates under him, 4 engines droning, the intercom crackling with clipped American voices, altitude checks, escort calls. Somewhere below, someone shouts over the intercom, "Jets, low, 12 o'clock." He swings the turret, searching. Back in the Komet, Andreas glances over once more at Bollenrath's silver dart. At this speed, every moment together feels stolen, borrowed against luck and fate. He knows as surely as his friend does, this flight might be their last. Bollenrath peels off in a clean, hard bank, angling for his own attack run. Andreas is alone now. He rams the throttle forward. The rocket motor roars from idle back to full thrust, slamming him into the seat again. The small wings buzz, the controls stiffen, and the B-17 formation looms. The bombers swell so fast it feels unreal, like he is flying into a painted backdrop. Window of opportunity, seconds, maybe less. He picks a single B-17 on the edge of the pack, its square tail steady in his gun sight. The nose of the Komet hunts for that point, tiny corrections against the buffet of the slipstream. He squeezes the trigger. The twin 30mm cannons hammer, the entire airframe shuddering under the recoil. Shells tear out in a brutal, strobing line, heavy rounds that can shred a bomber with a single good hit. On the B-17's wing, impacts flash like tiny suns, metal bursting away, holes punching through the skin. Andreas sees pieces fly, sees fuel vapor glittering in the air. He flashes under the bomber before its gunners can properly track him, diving beneath the whole dense block of American aircraft. Above him, 50 caliber guns bark too late. Tracers streak through the empty air he has just vacated. He is clear, but the fortress he fired at still flies. He twists his neck, glancing back up through the cramped canopy, and sees the line of B-17s beginning their bombing run. Bomb bay doors gape open all along the formation, dark rectangular mouths over the German fuel plant. There is no time, no way to stop what happens next. He watches as the first dark shapes fall. From the ground, it will start as a rumble, then a roar, then entire buildings flayed open by high explosive. The plant that feeds the Luftwaffe's fuel, thirsty machines, takes the hit. Andreas feels an empty Angerheis 30mm shells chewed at a single wing, tore at metal and fabric. Not enough, far from enough. He still has fuel. Minutes, not many, but enough for one more chance. The formation begins its slow, ponderous turn for home. The sky behind it is littered with wounded fortresses, stragglers sagging at the back, engine smoke trailing, their tight defensive fire arcs broken. Perfect prey, he pulls back gently, rolling the Komet around in a wide curve. The engine is back at idle again, every impulse telling him to burn, every instinct forcing him to save. Then he noses down, settling under the great lumbering column of bombers as they head west. From their vantage point, the Komet is invisible now, tucked below their bellies, hiding in the blind cone of their guns. He has done this once already. This time he intends to finish it. The huge silhouettes of the B-17s drift above him, their wings dark against the sun, propellers just faint, shimmering discs. He slides beneath one of the trailing aircraft, feeling the crosswind buffet, the sense of mass above, like a ship passing over a small boat. He is directly under his target now. He pushes the throttle to the stop. The rocket motor detonates back into life, the sudden acceleration like a kick in the spine. The Komet leaps forward and up, the airspeed screaming towards 600 miles per hour. The forces press him down, blood pulling at his vision as he rides the small machine upward into the bomber's vulnerable underbelly. In the B-17, the ball turret gunner catches a flicker of movement, some impossible meteor shooting up from below. The training kicks in before the thought fully forms. He stomps the pedals, wrenches the hand controls, and the entire turret whines as it spins, the twin Browning, 50s swinging to meet the climbing threat. Back in the Komet, Andreas steadies the sight. The bomber fills his view, no longer a distant rectangle, but an entire world of rivets, panel lines, and gun ports. He settles the crosshairs on the soft heart of the fortress. He pulls the trigger. One cannon roars to life, hammering out its heavy 30mm shells. The other coughs once, then falls silent. Jam. He feels it through the controls, through the shudder of the airframe. One barrel now, half his firepower gone at the worst possible moment. It doesn't matter. He is committed. No time to disengage, no time to reset. He holds the trigger down. Above him, the ball turret gunner is doing the same thing. The Komet rises straight into his line of sight. The Browning machine guns bark, the mechanical chatter almost continuous as the black barrels spit lethal streams of metal. It's like a bat out of hell, the gunner yells into his intercom, struggling to keep the wild little shape in his sights and just as hard to hit. Streams of 50 caliber tracers slash down past the nose of the Me-163, glaring orange streaks against the blue. Andreas feels them whipping past, hears the faint, high-pitched snaps of close misses. His own 30mm shells smash into the B-17's underside, brutal punches of explosive force. Aluminum skin erupts, chunks of metal tumbling away. The bomber staggered but still flying, still firing back. For a moment, it is simply two men locked into intersecting, irreversible lines. Then the American finds his mark. One 50 caliber round, just one among hundreds, slams into the Komet's canopy. Glass explodes inward in a storm of shards. The bullet scythes through the narrow cockpit, fragments striking Andreas above his left eye in a hot, stinging spray. He jerks, vision flaring white at the edge. The round does not stop. It drills through the thin metal plate behind his head and plunges straight into the fuel tank. That tank is full of a substance every Komet pilot dread, a volatile, reactive cocktail that can erupt without warning, that is infamous for eating through flesh as if it were nothing at all. Hypergolic rocket fuel. Touch the two components together and they burn, whether you want them to or not. In an instant, Andreas' confidence in his machine is gone. He shoves the stick forward, snapping the Komet out of its attack line. The bomber formation flashes back over his head as he dives away, breaking contact with the angry fortress. Tracers reach for him, lines of orange fire stretching through the sky, but his speed saves him. In seconds, he is outside the arc of their guns, a streaking dart dropping away into the blue. The pain over his eye throbs hot, sticky. The fuel tank behind him is a loaded gun now, one that might go off at any second without warning. He has to get out. He moves with calm urgency. He unclips his harness, the practiced motions of training taking over. His gloved hand reaches up for the canopy release. He pulls nothing. The canopy stays locked down, a solid, unmoving shell of plexiglass and metal over his head. Damn it, the word slips out between clenched teeth. Come on, move, move. He braces his shoulders and pushes with everything he has. The windstream batters the canopy, pressing it into its frame like a giant invisible hand. Every knot of speed that kept him alive a moment ago now pins him into a burning coffin. Muscles strain, the canopy does not budge. He has no idea that, a few thousand feet away, another pilot has been watching every second of his desperate struggle. Watching the smoking Komet, the wounded rocket fighter alone beneath the receding bombers, and turning his own machine toward the kill. The man watching is Captain Fred Glover, commanding officer of the 336th Squadron. From the cockpit of his 51 Mustang, high and fast, he has been tracking the strange rocket fighter since it flashed through the bomber stream. He saw the wild vertical attack, saw the spray of cannon fire, saw the Komet stagger away with a chunk of its canopy gone. Now he sees the white smear of its contrail and the faint smear of smoke. Got one. Intercepting, he calls over the radio, voice tight with focus. He banks hard to starboard, the Mustang rolling smoothly, the big Merlin engine humming with contained power. Nose down, he slides in behind the crippled Komet, the distance collapsing as he lines up for a shot. Ahead of him, Andreas finally spots the silver shape angling toward him out of the sun. Mustang. He drops his hand back onto the stick and shoves it forward, trying to deepen his dive to spoil the American's aim. The wounded Komet responds, nose dipping, the horizon climbing in the windscreen. Too late. Glover squeezes the trigger. 6 .50 caliber Browning machine guns open up together, a solid hose of fire that rips through the air where the Komet hangs. Tracers streak past, burning lines of orange and white, the Mustang's wings vibrating under the recoil. Andreas feels the hits as a stuttering tremor through the thin frame. Panels shudder, rivets pop, but the closing speed is enormous, and in a heartbeat Glover is already blowing past, overshooting. The American roars by above and ahead, the big prop biting into the air as the Mustang flashes across Andreas' field of view. Instinctively, Andreas rams his throttle forward, trying to claw for any extra speed, any chance to extend away. Nothing, the lever hits the stop with no response. The engine gives him no surge, no kick, nothing at all. The tanks are dry, he is out of fuel. The Me-160-3 is no longer a rocket fighter. It is now just a glider, wounded, trailing smoke, trapped in a sky full of enemies. He cranes his neck, peering back over his shoulder. The Mustang arcs around in a wide, confident turn, the pilot clearly intending a second pass. The sunlight flashes off the Americans' wings, off the gun ports along their leading edges, 6 heavy machine guns, all pointed at him. Andreas grabs once more for the canopy handle. Desperation edges into his movements now. He yanks, shoves, braces his knees against the cockpit wall, and hauls with every muscle in his body. It still doesn't move. He looks up, and the Mustang is coming straight at him. Glover steadies his aim, crosses the tiny, dart-shaped silhouette of the Komet with the center of his gun sight, and presses the trigger down again. This time, there's no fleeting deflection shot. The 51's guns walk their way across the little rocket plane in a sustained, merciless burst. The Komet seems to come apart in layers. Sheets of metal peel away from the wings and fuselage. Access panels go spinning off into the slipstream, tumbling like dead leaves. Bits of internal structural wiring, tubing, framework briefly flash into view, exposed to the rushing air. Then the bullets find the fuel. Rounds punch into the tanks, tearing them open. For a moment there is only a blurred spray, glinting droplets vanishing into the slipstream. Then, as the fine mist of vapor mixes with the air, it ignites. Fire blossoms under the Komet's belly, a jagged orange tongue licking along the underside, fed by the most volatile substances a pilot can sit on. Andreas feels, rather than sees, the new threat. The cockpit grows hotter, a faint ominous glow beneath his feet. It feels like the floor itself is beginning to breathe heat up into his spine. He rolls, the Komet inverts, flipping onto its back, and he shoves the stick forward. The nose points straight down, and the wounded fighter plunges toward the earth. Its burning underside now above him. If the flames are going to eat through the aircraft, let them eat through the part that isn't his cockpit. Behind him, Glover follows, rolling the Mustang onto its back, keeping the guns trained on the twisting, diving target. He holds the trigger down in short, vicious bursts, the tracers raking across the Komet, chewing away at what is left of its light structure. Lead slams into the German fighter, but Andreas still has one slim advantage. The Mi-160's airframe is built to dive hard. Sleek, compact, with little drag, it was designed to survive insane speeds in its slashing attacks on bomber formations. Even without an engine, purely as a falling shape of metal and wings, it can still pick up terrifying velocity. For a moment, as both aircraft plunge, the gap between hunter and hunted hangs in the balance. Glover knows he doesn't have long. Altitude bleeds away with every second. There are still bombers to cover, a squadron to lead, fuel to consider. He gives it everything, staying on the trigger whenever the Komet passes beneath his sight, trying to rip the fragile machine apart before gravity or geometry forces him to break off. Andreas' time is about to run out, then the sky around them changes. More white streaks stab down from above, cutting across the blue of their Komets, dropping out of the high air, arrowing down past the scattered bomber formations. The rest of Andreas' squadron is arriving in the same patch of air. On Glover's canopy, new shapes flicker at the edge of his vision. Additional rocket fighters, fresh, fast, and still with fuel to burn. "It's your lucky day, Komet," he mutters. Whether it's a calculation or a flash of instinct, the decision is immediate. He releases the trigger, eases off the dive, and banks away, curving the Mustang clear of the now crowded airspace. He leaves Andreas to whatever fate the fire beneath him decides. The German pilot keeps the stick forward, steepening the dive even more, the wind howl rising around the shredded canopy frame. He is praying not for victory, not for Germany, just for the air itself. If he can get fast enough, if the slipstream blasts hard enough along the underside of the aircraft, perhaps it can blow the flames out. Smother them, starve them of oxygen. The altimeter whirls downward. The airframe creaks and complains. The fire licks and trembles, then suddenly it gutters. The orange fades to a sickly glow, then to blackened streaks along the skin. Smoke trails off in thinning wisps. For a moment, unbelievably, it looks like the insane plan has worked. The fire is out. Andreas eases back slightly, leveling the Komet, feeling the violent pressure of the dive ease off his chest. Then the fire comes back. It erupts with renewed fury, bigger, angrier, flames boiling out along the underside once more. Whatever damage the bullets did has mixed the separate rocket fuels somewhere inside the aircraft. Hypergolic liquids that, once joined, will burn until there is nothing left to consume. It is not a normal fire. It is a reaction that will not stop. He understands instantly. He must get out now. Far above, detached from this personal crisis, the air battle continues. In another Mi-160, Oberfeldwebel Jakob Bollenrath lines up his own attack run. His attitude is the same as always, calm, focused, precise. He dives down on a bomber formation ahead, sight settling on the top of a 17. He squeezes the trigger. His cannons spit a short, controlled burst, heavy shells stitching across the flying fortress upper fuselage. Metal erupts in brief flashes, lines of damage etched across the bomber's spine as he screams past in a blur. He pulls his throttle back, easing the rocket motor to preserve fuel, leveling off and planning his next move. Everything about his handling says the same thing. Stay measured. He knows his fuel margin is thin. He doesn't know that someone is waiting for him. A 51 Mustang hangs above and ahead of Bollenrath's flight path, its pilot having watched the rocket interceptor blast through the bomber formation. Captain Louis Norley sees the Komet appear right before his eyes, a sudden, startling dart of metal and flame sliding into his gunsight's future path. He pushes his throttle forward, the Merlin engine's note deepens, the Mustang surging as Norley drops into a shallow dive to close the distance. The Komet is small, but it's not invisible, not from here, not when it stands out against the blue like a tiny bright arrow. Below, Bollenrath is not yet looking behind him. He's still thinking about his fuel, about his angle for the next pass on the bombers. He flies level for a few seconds more, buying himself options later. Then the air around his canopy fills with streaks. Bullets zip past his field of view, incandescent lines crackling across his bow. Verdammt, the curse bursts out of him as instinct kicks in. He yanks the stick, rolling the Komet and pulling it down into a dive, hunting for speed. The rush of air grows louder. His little machine once again shows its wicked diving potential, arrowing away from the immediate danger. Above and behind, Norley banks the Mustang to follow. Through his gunsight, the Komet tucks itself down into a steeper line, trying to extend. He stays with it, pulling hard, the 51's wings loading up, forces tightening his harness as he keeps the German fighter in view. In the Komet, Bollenrath risked a glance over his shoulder. The sight is the stuff of every fighter pilot's nightmares. A 51, slightly above, slightly behind, nose glued to him, 6 50 caliber machine guns already sparking, tracer lines reaching out, feeling for his tail. He knows the raw performance figures. He knows that in a straight powered dive, the Me-160 can outrun the Mustang. But that assumes a clean run, no damage and no hits. He cannot afford to take a single solid burst. He cuts hard left, the Komet yaws and banks, its nose carving a tight arc. The sudden lateral move spoils Norley's aim, the 50 caliber streams flicking past where the German fighter would have been. But the violent turn also robs Bollenrath of precious speed. The rocket engine is throttled back, fuel being conserved, and every hard pull on the stick bleeds off the airspeed he needs to just disappear. The Mustang hangs with him, Norley working the stick with both hands, pulling with all the strength in his shoulders to drag the heavy, powerful fighter through the turn. The black ring of the gunsight hunts for the Komet's path. Bollenrath tightens his turn even more. If he can slow himself down abruptly, make a brutal, tight corner, maybe the Mustang will overshoot, fly past him, and give him a second or two of advantage. It's a desperate, close-in maneuver, but there aren't many options left. Norley reads it. He anticipates the Komet's line, the way an experienced hunter reads the last twitch of a cornered animal. He swings the nose ahead of the German fighter's current position, leading the turn. He squeezes the trigger. A new stream of 50 caliber fire pours out, a curved, deadly arc of metal that intersects the Komet's path. Rounds hit home. They strike the Komet's rear fuselage, just behind the cockpit. Inside, the impacts echo like a hailstorm on a thin roof. Sharp crackles and pops, each one a new, sickening note in the aircraft's fragile symphony. Bollenrath ducks instinctively, shoulders hunching as fragments of metal whip past inside the cramped cockpit. Each impact could be the one that opens the tank, severs a control, ends everything in a single instant. Then abruptly the noise stops. The burst ends as the Mustang slashes overhead, forced by momentum through his line, too fast to stick behind him forever. For a fleeting moment, Jakob Bollenrath is free. This is it, he tells himself, now. He rolls his Komet away from the Mustang's flight path and shoves the throttle to full. The rocket engine should answer with its familiar violent shove, pinning him back in his seat, flinging him forward into the safety of sheer speed. Instead, something else happens. An immense bang reverberates through the aircraft, not the controlled roar of thrust, but a dull, ugly explosion deep in the machine's gut. Silence follows. The familiar push is gone. The roar of the engine is replaced by a high-pitched rush of air over a suddenly powerless airframe. The American bullets have done their worst. Somewhere in the engine, critical components are shattered, jammed. The rocket motor has seized. No, the word rips from Bollenrath's throat. Work, work, you have to work. There is no time to think through options. Training drills over and over have never covered this exact moment. Hinge, in dead, enemy on your tail, fuel tanks full of liquid fire, nowhere to run. He fumbles through the restart procedure anyway, hands racing over the controls, trying to coax anything any sputter, any cough out of the murdered motor. Work nothing, the Komet stays mute and heavy, a dead weight in the sky. He looks back, the Mustang is already banking around. Norley rolls smoothly back into the fight, turning back toward the nowed, fenceless German aircraft. Through his gun sight, the Komet is slower, more predictable, locked into ballistic glide. There is no longer a race between rocket and piston engine. There is just one fighter, fully alive, bearing down on another that is already halfway to being wreckage. Norley settles the sight on the Komet and squeezes the trigger. The next stream of 50 caliber bullets tears through the sky and into Bollenrath's aircraft from tail to cockpit. Rounds punch through the thin rear structure, walk forward along the fuselage, and smash into the area around the cockpit itself. Control runs sever, panels burst inward, the delicate balance that keeps any fighter in the air collapses. Flames flicker from the fresh bullet holes, clawing at the rushing air as the Komet rolls over out of control, beginning a wild, tumbling descent. In another corner of the sky, Lieutenant Günther Andreas is still fighting his own battle. He's won not with an enemy pilot, but with his own burning machine. Damn it, he growls, pushing at the stubborn canopy again. It remains wedged tight, the roar of the slipstream welding it in place as effectively as any latch. He can feel the heat now, a dull, growing presence through the seat, through the back armor. The smell in the cockpit has turned acrid, chemical. Come on, he can almost see it. The flames finally punching through, spraying the lethal fuel mix into the cockpit. Move, he strains until his muscles tremble, pressing his hands and shoulders up against the transparent dome. For one heartbeat, something changes. The canopy shifts. It lifts a fraction of an inch, a tiny give that sends a jolt of hope through Himpton. It slams shut again, smashed back down by the invisible hammer of the wind. Understanding arrives in a flash. It's not the latch, it's the airspeed. As long as he is tearing through the sky at this velocity, the slipstream is a solid wall pressing down on the canopy, pinning it shut. To open it, he needs to slow down. To slow down, he has to pull up, trade speed for altitude, make himself, however briefly, a slower, easier target for the chaotic air war around him. It doesn't matter. The burning under his seat decides for him. He grabs the controls and hauls back hard on the stick. The Me-160-3 pitches nose up. Forces slam him into his harness, his vision tightening as blood drags back toward his spine. The screaming rush of air fades slightly as the aircraft climbs, bleeding off speed. He feels the change in the airflow on the canopy, the pitch of the wind's howl dropping a note. He shoves at the canopy again. This time it swings open. The airstream claws at him now instead of the plexiglass. He doesn't hesitate. Harness off, one last grasp of the familiar cockpit edge, and then he throws himself clear of the doomed rocket plane. For a moment he tumbles through cold air, the burning Komet whirling past, leaving a streak of smoke and fire. Then his parachute blossoms above him, a sudden violent jerk as the lines go taut, and his fall slows into a swaying, floating descent. Silence rushes in, broken only by the distant murmur of engines and guns far above. He turns under the canopy, craning his neck to look back toward the combat. There, stabbing down toward the groundies, a streak of fire, a small, blazing shape in a near-vertical dive. The remains of a Me-163, Bollenrath's Komet. Come on, Andreas whispers into the empty air. He grips his parachute risers with white knuckles, eyes locked on the falling streak. Get out? He waits for the tiny, blooming circle of a parachute, the single sign that his friend has beaten the odds to, that he has slipped clear of the burning machine. Nothing appears. The flaming Komet stays nose down, its angle barely changing as it hurtles toward the earth. It disappears in the distance where Andreas cannot see or hear the end. Oberfeldwebel Jakob Bollenrath never escapes. He dies in that fall, lost inside his disintegrating rocket fighter. His Me-160-3 becomes the last Komet ever to be shot down by a 51 Mustang. The battle over the fuel plants ebbs away. The bombers reform their columns and turn west, dragging their escorts with them, leaving smoke and fire behind on the ground and scattered debris in the air. For all the speed and drama of the Komet's attacks, the plants below have still taken their punishment. Sometimes even the fastest aircraft in the world cannot change the weight of numbers, the massed power of 1,000 bombers and their fighters. Lieutenant Günther Andreas survives his fall, drifting back down to a battered Germany, Captain Louis Norley brings his Mustang home. Captain Fred Glover leads the 336th Squadron back to base. All 3 men live through that day. All 3 survive the war. Years later, the Me-163 Komet is remembered as a legend of raw speed, a dangerous marvel that could climb like no other, fueled by chemicals that terrified the men who flew with them strapped to their backs. Its brief, flashing attacks rarely matched the scale of the Allied bomber streams it faced. On 2 November 1944, over the fuel plants near Brandis, the Komets fly as they were designed straight, fast, and deadly for seconds at a time. They damage bombers, claim lives, and pay with their own, but the B-17s still drop their bombs, the factories still burn. The hard truth in that cold German sky is simple. Speed alone is not enough. The limits of fuel, of fragile engines, of unforgiving aerodynamics, and of human reaction times, all of them matter as much as thrust and courage. Watching from now, through history's long lens, that may be the clearest lesson from Andreas' desperate dives and Bollenrath's last, doomed turn. Which moment in this story struck you the most? Andreas fighting the Canopy over a burning fuel tank, or Bollenrath trying to outrun a fate already written into his damaged engine? Did technology decide this battle, or did the invisible constraints fuel minutes, dive limits, firing windows matter more than the planes themselves? If you want more stories of strange aircraft and the people who flew them on the edge of what was possible, let me know which mission, pilot, or battle you'd like to hear next. Like, subscribe, and join us again as we dive into another moment when a single pass, a single decision, or a single burst of gunfire shaped the sky.